Hi, Susannah.
Hi, Simone.
Hi, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for doing this chat.
No problem at all. Always enjoy chatting about running and adventures.
I know, it's fantastic. As you know, it's part of my adventure series where I talk to ordinary women who do completely extraordinary things by taking themselves out of their comfort zones and just really finding out what they're capable of. So you definitely fit that bill. Do you want to kickstart things for us and tell us how come you ended up signing up for the World Marathon Challenge? And for anyone out there, I suppose I should say, or you can say exactly what it is. Do you want to tell everyone what it is and how bonkers it is?
Yeah, it's a pretty special challenge. It involves running 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. There isn't really any sort of challenge like it. It's very special. It's organised by a company called World Marathon Challenge, and particularly Richard Donovan, who's a great guy. He himself has run across America. And so it's been going since 2015. And it's really kind of how I even thought about doing such a unique challenge, because the concept of it was first done by Sir Ranulph Fiennes back in 2003, but it was always done on a sort of private basis and very hard to organise. And then World Marathon Challenge came along and wanted to invite people to have a chance to do it every year, and so I had no concept that I was ever in my life going to do anything quite as mad as this. I took up running back in 2009, kind of properly, to run my first marathon. I'd done a little bit of running before, but nothing like running multiple marathons on multiple days anyway. And so I was doing that, and I just came across this brilliant thing, World Marathon Challenge, and I thought, well, maybe I should just give it a go. In fact, it took me 6 months to get to that point, because I first heard about it in January 2018, and I ummed and ahed because I talked to Richard, and you have to fill in a few forms, and thought about it, and I thought, no, it's too mental, it's just too mad. I mean, I could run a single marathon at that point, and I was running decent times, but my word, I used to be sore the next day. So I was like, well, I'll never be able to run 7 of them. That would just be absolutely impossible. But something in my brain that summer of 2018, I suddenly thought, well, I just don't want to wake up and be that person that thought I should have done that, and watch other people do something that you think, well, if I'd just been a bit bolder and a bit braver, I could have had a go at it. And so I eventually signed up in August 2018, started training in September, kind of very focused, very seriously, and then ran it in 2019, January 2019. So that's the sort of how this happened. There was no master plan or long-term, like, oh, this is the thing I want to go and do. Like a lot of us, we sort of end up doing these things a little bit by accident, just because one thing leads you on to another and another, and you meet people and opportunities come up. So I think my moral of the story would be just to have a very open mind. You never quite know where these things are going to take you.
So it's really great to hear you talk about it, because it's so common with everyone I've spoken to, is piecemeal. The first reaction is the inner voice to say, it's impossible, I can't do it. And then slowly but surely you see what you're capable of, and then you reach for something that seems bonkers. Like, you're not a professional athlete. You've been running for 10 years. You have a full-time, very serious job. So I'd love to hear more about how you train specifically, because this isn't just a marathon. A marathon's hard enough, as you say, but how do you train to go from Antarctica, the highest continent in the world, one day, and within 24 hours you're in Cape Town?
Yeah. So when I signed up, I wasn't, I have to be honest, I didn't really know how I was going to do it. I assumed that I had quite a lot of grit and determination, so I could probably crawl around, but I had no real concept of how I was going to run 7 proper marathons in that time. I was very lucky to be working with a running coach called Mike Antonides, who set up the running school. And I'd gone to him actually in 2017 because I'd had a knee injury. I'd had keyhole surgery to remove lots of loose bits of cartilage, which is a very, very common running injury. And I was back running, but I wasn't running very well. And so I'd been to the running school for 18 months at that point, just to improve my technique and get a bit stronger. And so when I thought, well, I'm going to take on this mad challenge, how am I going to train for it? I need someone to help me. There was no way that I knew what I was going to be able to do and how to get really fit. I turned to Mike and said, would he coach me? And I thought he was quite relaxed about it, but I think since we've subsequently discussed it and ended up writing about it in our book, he was like, I thought it was a bit mad that you wanted to do it. It was only 5 months to train. I didn't really know if you were going to be one of these people that was going to get stuck in and do the training and do all the things you need to do. And so, yeah, it was, again, a bit of a step into the unknown for both of us. He's coached loads of those people, but no one to do a challenge like this. And so really, I kind of consider it a real partnership in how we did it. He wrote the training program. We trained every week together, and I just had to go and do it, basically, which is a massive relief off your mind, not having to think about what you need to do. You just have to do it. And we did some amazing training sessions stuff I'd never done before, particularly sprint intervals. And I remember asking him at the beginning, why have I got to do loads of sprint intervals when I'm running marathons? And it's all to do with getting your cardio fitness improved, your heart and your lungs stronger, and get your overall body fitter. So when you can then run at a longer time and a higher pace, which is what you need to do when you're running marathons. So some of my favourite sessions included 20 times 90-second sprints on treadmills with sort of 90 seconds in between. My particular favourite was 8 times 4 minutes. So you run pretty much as hard as you can for 4 minutes. I always did it on the treadmill because then you can just set the pace and you just have to run it up some form of incline. And then you have a couple of minutes off. You do that 8 times and you feel pretty exhausted by the end of it. And then loads of long runs at weekends, so kind of 4 hours on a Saturday, 4 hours on a Sunday, or back-to-back marathons, because I quite enjoyed racing, so I often went and did a race on a Sunday morning, just so I didn't have to kind of go out and run another marathon distance by myself. So I ended up doing some quite random marathons, because sort of late autumn, winter is not the key time for marathon running. So you do see quite little ones, which is quite fun. And then we did a big trial period. I remember we decided that I would run 6 marathons in 9 days before Christmas, which was like the final prep, about 6 weeks before I left. And amazingly, I was still in one piece at the end of that. And so that was the kind of level of training I was doing. I mean, way beyond anything I'd done before. I mean, by myself, I used to do nice long runs because I like going running. But I did very little speed work, very little strength work, which I then also used to do at my running school sessions. And yeah, so it was like training I'd done before, but just 100 times improved and 100 times more intense as well. And that's actually, that broke down the mystery of how do you do these things. You train for them. We've all got a human body. We can all use it. It just depends what we want it to do. You know, I look at other challenges that people do. Like, I mean, how do you swim the Channel, for example? I say this as someone who's terrible at swimming. I only go swimming when I've sort of injured myself or I'm exhausted and I need to go and lollop around in water. I'm the slowest swimmer ever. So I look at people doing that and think, I just don't know how you'd even do it. But I guess if I wanted to and I trained for it, I guess I could swim that far. I don't know. I've never tried, but I've never tried to run 7 marathons in a week. So everyone starts from a certain place, and you can move your body and your mind to where it needs to go to do whatever challenge you want to do. If you're committed enough, there isn't no secret there. You have got to put in the hard work and do the training. It's not want to do it yourself. Sometimes I think people want to hear that there's a shortcut. And unfortunately, I can report there definitely isn't.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same. It's really, you've said so many interesting things. Hearing about sort of the training, making it manageable, having a coach, not having to think too long term. I presume about the training programs. Was it sort of week by week, or was it month blocks?
Week by week. And then Mike was very clever, actually. You talk about month blocks. He did only ever show me 4 weeks of the training program in one go. Because I think if he'd shown me back in September what I was going to be doing by November and December, I was like, I can't do that. That's way too hard. But we just went progressively, and we used to sort of do 3 hard weeks and then have an easier week and 3 hard weeks. So you're kind of progressing like this. And that sort of helps with motivation and helps you stop getting injured as well. Because progress isn't linear. You don't just go up a curve getting fitter. You have weeks where you make bigger progress, and you have other weeks that you feel like you've made no progress at all. Actually, those are the important weeks, because those are the weeks you've got to be able to keep going. And so, yeah, we trained in a very structured way like that. And actually, I found it a revelation to have a coach and someone that you could confide in. Because the first thing Mike would ask when I saw him was like, "Oh, how are you?" And he actually wanted to know the answer. You know, we ask people how they are all the time. No one actually listens to the answer. answer, do they? It's just a polite. Whereas he actually did want to know how I'd eaten, how I'd slept, how was I feeling, had I got a cold, all those things. And actually I kept a diary as well. So it'd be like, what's your heart rate doing? How much sleep have you got? And you always knew pretty much. Mike would know that if I'd said I hadn't had quite as much sleep as I'd like, or it'd been a stressful week at work, I haven't eaten quite, as well as I could have done, that your training would probably not go as well. It's pretty logical that. Whereas if you go, yeah, actually, no, I've had a good week, got my 8 hours sleep in, eaten well, then lo and behold, training goes well. So, but you have to hold yourself accountable for all these things. And I got to the point where I used to hate it. If I'd know that I'd been busy at work or something, and I probably hadn't had enough sleep that week, I'd hate having to write it in the diary, because you'd be like, I know this is not what I should be writing down, but you got to be honest. But it then makes you think, well, actually, I'm going to try and get more sleep next week to try and counter it. So it does make you look after yourself. It makes you more accountable for what you're trying to achieve.
That's interesting. Did you have any injuries or any significant pain?
I was pretty lucky. I got one cold, and then my one injury was actually quite funny. It was over Christmas when I was having a sort of easier 10 days. I don't know if you've used the bands that you can use to work your glutes and hamstrings. I decided I'd have a go sort of using those by myself. I don't think I warmed up properly. And I ended up making my glutes so tight that they were pulling on my lower back. And I felt like I had back pain. I was like, God, my lower back's so sore. I've never had back trouble, but this is not good if I've got back trouble now. Anyway, luckily Dahlia, who's one of the wonderful team at the running school and a trained physio, was able to give me a massage when I got back to London. And she was like, no, there's nothing wrong with your back, it's just that your glutes are so tight, they're like pulling on everything. So that was my only one injury, which was entirely my own fault. Otherwise I was pretty tough. Like I'm built like a tank. I've got, other than that one knee injury in 2015, I've been quite lucky, but touch wood, I haven't had any other major injuries, because also I think now that I train better and I run with the running school, hopefully I'm using my body more efficiently. Most running injuries, it's really boring, most running injuries are because of bad technique. You get, your knees or your ankles or your hips and everything get sore because you're not using your glutes and your hamstrings, which are your big muscles. They should be doing sort of 80% of the work, which is what the running school is all about, to get you to use those muscles. And then you take the burden off your joints and your smaller muscles. But, knee injuries come because people don't run in a particularly good style, because we don't do enough moving these days. We spend far too much time doing what we're both doing now, sat down, on our backsides, deactivating our big muscles, shortening our hip flexors, all the things that you want to be opposite to what you want to do when you're running. So when I'm warming up or running, I'm trying to constantly, work the glute muscles, work the hamstrings, stretch the hip flexors, everything that we're not doing in modern life, which is a bit sad, really. And I hope the only thing I hope is in the current kind of circumstances, we might all be out walking and exercising a bit more, which would be really good for us.
Definitely, I completely agree. I certainly have, thankfully, until I fell off a rock the other day that I bored you with when I spoke to you the other day listening to the podcast. But that's another thing I wanted to ask you as well, is about, whilst you're on the race, is there a lot of camaraderie? Is it very competitive? Because you must be a quite tight-knit group of people.
Yeah, it's a very unique experience. I mean, the whole week, time is very odd during the week, because normally when you're traveling places, it doesn't matter how lucky you are, to fly a nice plane or whatever, you normally just want to get to where you're going. So you're kind of always in a hurry, the airport, through to the departure lounge, through to flying, and then you're there. And whereas time during the week that we did it was completely different. I got on a plane and it was such a relief to know that I had 3 flights between, say, Cape Town and Perth, or second and third marathons, and I wouldn't be having to get off that plane for 18 hours or whatever, however far it was. So you suddenly started to enjoy travel in a way that I never have, and I think I'm a more relaxed traveller now because of that. Like, if something's going to go wrong when you're traveling, or a change journey is going to take 4 hours, just sit and enjoy it, rather than always wanting to be at the next place that we always want to be. And in terms of the other people we were with, it was just great. We all met in Cape Town, and there were about 40 of us, so 25 guys, 15 women, all ages, all nationalities, colours, backgrounds, reasons for doing it, running experience. I guess we all had different jobs, but none of us really talked about that. It was great. We just talked about running and things we wanted to do. And we had, real kind of camaraderie between us, because I mean, it didn't matter. The fastest guy was really nice guy called Mike Warden, who's just a legend of a marathon and ultra marathon runner. And he's actually he's got the current world record for the men's time of 2:45 average, which is insane. And it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter whether you're at his level running them, or whether you were, for example, the oldest competitor was a guy called Dan, really lovely guy, 76, and obviously was taking somewhere between sort of 6 and 7 hours to do each marathon. So, and I admire both of those extremes so much, because to be able to run that fast is incredible on Mike's part, but then on Dan's part, to be out for 7 hours in Antarctica. And we were lucky. We had a pretty good summer's day, but my word, the wind is cold. Once you start to get a bit sweaty, if you're going slowly or you stop, you get really cold very, very quickly. And so, you just got to admire people that can do that. And we definitely had that. We all kept each other going and helped each other out if we possibly could do. So that was a great sense of camaraderie. And we finished in Miami, and there were quite a lot of American runners, so we had some really good support there as well from friends and family. So it was a truly, truly special experience.
I bet. Oh, I have so many questions. And you're a world record holder. You set the world record. How did that feel? Must have felt incredible.
It was absolutely amazing. It wasn't again, a bit like the whole thing. I didn't set out to go and do it at all. It was just what I set out to do was go and run the best 7 marathons I could do. And at that time, it was good enough to set the world record. So that was just very, very special and a nice thing to do. And then obviously write a book on the back of it, which is something else. I always thought curious, how do people write books? And that's another thing I can tick off. Again, there's no magic to it. You have to sit and write and then work with a brilliant editing team. So the whole experience just was something that if someone had said to me 5 or 6 years ago, that running thing that you do where you go and you run the London Marathon and you do some other marathons and it's all great fun, that's going to lead to going to do this very special challenge, running around the world, and writing a book about it. I'd probably just be still sat in a heap, because I think, well, how could I get from where I am today to a place where I could do that? And actually, like I sort of started by saying, you can get there with training. Everything is about learning and getting better at it. You just have to want to, and you have to pick what you want to be good at in life, and then you've got the potential to go and do it.
Yeah, it's very, very true. You've summed it up brilliantly. And it also sounds like what you're saying to me is the mental challenge is just, if not a little bit more important than the physical challenge, because the physical challenge you can keep training for. Did Mike also help you prepare for the mental challenge, or?
Yeah, massively so. I mean, that was, he always said sort of right from the outset, I can coach you to run 4 marathons, but the 5th, 6th and 7th is going to be in your head, because you're going to be running into a place you've never run so consistently before. And so, when I came to my first session, before I even sort of got on the treadmill, he handed me a couple of books to read. One of them was Grit by Dr. Angela Duckworth, which is a fantastic book. It's all about how life's not about talent, it's about determination and what you put into it. And it's very, very true. And they've got a very clever thing called the grit scale. You can kind of measure how sort of gritty you are. And interestingly, when it comes to like normal life, I'm kind of 3/4 up the scale. So I'm pretty gritty as a person. I tend to get on with things and get stuff done, but nothing kind of out of the ordinary. But if I apply the questions in this survey to running, I'm like 100%. And basically, if I start running and I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to finish that race, I'm absolutely going to finish it, even if I have to crawl across the line. I have that level of determination when it comes to running, which has definitely kind of helped me during that week. The other book was called The Art of Mental Training, which is a really funny book. It's not like anyone I've read before, but it's kind of big takeaway is that you have to have a mantra that you tell yourself when things get tough. So when you're in that 5th marathon, or you're halfway across the channel and you've still got loads of miles to swim, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, you've got to have something that you say to yourself that keeps you going, because otherwise the demons will get into your head and tell you can't do it, and you will find yourself stopping. And you have to be able to override that and say, no, I'm strong enough. I mean, my mantra was, I'm strong, I'm loving this, push, push. And the reason for that was that the strong was to remind myself of all the training I'd done, all the hours I'd put in to get to where I was, and that I was mentally and physically very strong. The bit I'm loving it was about the fact that I was choosing to do this. No one was making me do it. No one makes me go and run. I do it because I like it, even if I don't love every second of it all the time. And the push push was kind of right. Get rid of any negative thoughts you've got. Get on with it now. Right, everything's in front of you, one step at a time. Get rid of anything that you don't want to be thinking about, or reasons not to be running, or why it hurts, or anything like that. Just out of the brain. And I mean, I must have said that little phrase to myself hundreds of times during that week. Particularly when you get into the kind of no man land, the marathons, when you're in kind of mile 18, 19, 20, and you're tired. Everyone is. It doesn't matter how fast or slow you're running, but you have still got quite a long way to go.
And it's
So
just
that
you,
was
isn't
really
it?
important. Sorry?
Sorry to interrupt, Susannah. I was just saying, and it's just you, isn't it? You're not,
Yeah.
it's not a team, it's not someone next to you, it's just you and yourself. And
There was 39 other people going through it, which definitely helps. But yeah, at the end of the day, you've got to motivate yourself. No one can put your feet down for you and keep you going.
yeah.
The same way they can't motivate you in life generally. That's got to come from inside you somewhere.
Definitely. What did people say when you signed up? Because it is an expensive race. I was having a look at it, and it is a big cost, and that must have put another tier of pressure on your shoulders.
Yeah, no, again, that was something I massively considered, but I don't really do holidays and stuff. So for me, it was like kind of 5 holidays in one. I don't really do lying on the beach. I like to, if I go anywhere, I like to do it to run a marathon, and then maybe relax a bit afterwards. But the marathon's like, the central thing. So yeah, I knew this was a once in a lifetime experience. I didn't have like 10 sponsors behind me that were like, well, if you mess it up first time, don't worry, we'll come and do, you can come and do it again. It was like, this is my one chance to do it. So yeah, I wanted to obviously make them most of it. Is a very special experience, and it feels even more special actually at the moment, because everyone, wherever you are in the world, pretty much you are tied down there at the moment. You can't, I would love to be. I was in April, I was meant to go to Boston and run another world major, and that's not going to happen this year because September got cancelled as well. So it feels even more special to have said, yeah, I've been around the world in 1 week, when I can't even go further than the local shops at the moment. So it makes you appreciate the things that you get to go and do in life.
Yeah, it's incredible. As you say, it just now feels the most alien idea that you could go and do that in 7 days.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't for too long.
I do, yeah. The next one is December 2021. So
I've got time to train. I could do it.
You got loads of time to train. You'd have bucket loads more time than I gave myself.
Yeah. So it's that on Atlantic Row. I think I've got more chance of surviving in Atlantic Row. No,
yeah,
you'd never do it?
I could, being trapped on water for that long, because of course, where would I go running?
Yeah, that is.
So yeah, we're very different, aren't we? Yeah, you take to the water. I'll stick on the dry land.
I remembered a really nerdy question I wanted to ask you about what you wore in Antarctica. Is it merino wool? Is it what did you?
Yeah, what I was meant to take with me actually was one of the things that stressed me out. So about 3 months before I left, I started a kit list, just because on the idea that if it was all written down, then it was being organised. The key is lots of layers. So I mean, the modern fabrics and stuff that you wear are incredible. So it was like a long long top, the t-shirt on top of it, another t-shirt on top of that, leggings, a couple of pairs of socks. But I actually get very hot running, and so I like to just wear layers and you take them off. I mean, I actually ended up taking my gloves off just because I do generate a lot of heat, and so I got a slightly sunburned back of my hands because I hadn't put the sun cream on, because although it's very cold, you absolutely need loads and loads of sun cream on because it's so bright. And the other thing you need is really good polarized sunglasses, because otherwise you get really bad like sun blindness and get a really bad headache. So you have to have very good sunglasses.
Good, thanks. Good tips. Would you do it again?
Right, again, if I'm actually much busier at work than I was at that point, so I would find it really hard to carve out enough time to do the training. But then if it was the end of 2021, maybe I'd have time to think about it. I think I wouldn't pay to do it again myself, but if somehow the opportunity came up,
Sure.
I'd love it. And it's made me also think that if there's other places I want to go and run marathons, to just go and do them. You know, I haven't been to Eastern Europe and run any over there yet. I'd love to go back to Australia and run some more there. Or I don't know, places like Russia. I mean, there's just like so many places that you can have an excuse to go to if you want to go and run a marathon.
Yeah, fantastic. I know someone that's done one in North Korea, and then someone else who's done one in Nepal. So either of those sounded very.
I think I've looked at the Nepal one. North Korea I find a little bit scary.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one.
No, it might disappear and never be found again.
Yeah, that leads me well onto my next question. And I always feel bad asking people this because you come off the back of one adventure, don't you? And someone like me goes, "What's next? What's next?" So do you have anything planned in the pipeline, or just wait?
That was always the hardest question when I did TV interviews and stuff afterwards. Everyone goes, "What next?" And I think, well, I haven't thought about it yet. Well, this year was meant to be a really busy marathon year. I was going to run all my favourite road marathons, so Boston, London, Manchester, and I was going to do some ultras. And obviously I'm not doing any because there aren't any. Then maybe some in the autumn to get back on track. So, I mean, my heart will always be with the road marathon. I absolutely love it. I love the buzz of it and just everything. And I'm not a great fan of mud, so I love going off road, but in the summer, I don't like my feet being like all covered in mud and all my kit ruined. And you're not really running at that point, you're sort of surviving. I do like to actually be running. So yeah, more of that really, and just to go some interesting places. I mean, there's some incredible things you can go and do. I was at the running show in January, which is a really great couple of days at the NEC, and you know there's a group organising a marathon and some ultra marathons on the Falkland Islands. I mean, how amazing would it be to go there? So the great thing about running is the next adventure will be there, even if you're not quite sure what it is yet. So I'll just keep my mind open to exciting things I could go and do.
Yeah, great. I look forward to following you. I just wanted to ask you quickly, if anyone's listening or watching and they're thinking, God, I'd love to be like her. And that's the part I really like about your website as well. You say we can all be amazing. You never knew that you could do what you've done.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's feeling a bit sort of lost in limbo in lockdown, thinking, oh, I want to get out there, but I don't know how to get started, really?
Yeah, I mean, don't look at other people and think, oh, I've got to be like that tomorrow morning. And that might not be what you want to do. You know, people always say to me, you should go and do an Ironman, or you should go and do triathlons. And I've done a triathlon, but I don't really like the swimming very much in open water, not like surrounded by other people. I've never done enough cycling to know if I'm any good at it, or I really like running. So I'm like, no, actually, I'm not going to go and do all of that. I'm going to stick with running. So you've got to find the thing that you enjoy. And if it isn't running and it's something else, go and do it. Just because other people are running marathons doesn't mean you have to. So just find something you enjoy and get into that lovely kind of state of flow where you enjoy it, getting better at it, which is hard work at times, but you get that lovely satisfaction. We've all had it, that kind of nice exhausted feel after learning a new skill or going for a long run. So just do that, but it has to come from you. It can't come from thinking that I'm going to be like someone else. I mean, it's got to come from what you want to be as a person, and just take it one step at a time in achieving that.
Yeah, very true. Thank you. So now I'm going to quiz you on, it's not an actual quiz, it's on the Proust Questionnaire that I always ask, the top 10 questions that I ask at the end of my interviews. So are you ready? Whatever comes into your head.
Okay.
Okay, so question number 1. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
I should say running, shouldn't I? But I was trying to think when I feel most contented the other day, and it was after a really busy day where I'd done all the things I needed to do, and I lay in a hot bath.
Yeah, well,
like that, and it felt like bliss because I was like, just for once, my to-do list was empty, and it was very peaceful. So yeah, hot bath after a long day.
Yeah, I can definitely identify with that. What is your greatest fear?
Probably, like I said earlier, getting to the end of life and thinking, hang on, there were like 10 things I should have done I didn't do. So hopefully not having a to-do list at the end.
Understand. What is the trait you most deplore in yourself?
As in like him, deplore in myself.
Or yeah, the thing like you least like in yourself.
I can be quite bossy. I call it efficiency, but I'm probably bossy. And sometimes I can probably learn to relax a bit more and think that something could actually get done tomorrow. It doesn't all need to get done today, which my brothers remind me about quite regularly.
No. I love it. Often, yeah, women get described as bossy, don't they? Whereas men get described as successful. I always say.
Yes, they're successful, assertive, whatever.
I'm going
We're
to say your
yeah,
efficiency.
yeah.
Number 4, what is the trait you most deplore in others?
I'm not a great fan of lateness, because I always think if you're constantly running late, you're either inefficient or you really don't care about other people's time, which is quite selfish. And I hopefully never want to be either of those two things. So yeah, constantly being late is a bit annoying, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Number 5, what occasion do you lie?
And if I'm trying not to hurt other people's feelings, I sort of, it's that classic, you get given something that you don't really want or didn't like, or if you told someone the absolute truth, it would hurt their feelings. So you just sugarcoat things a bit more, because that's sort of what we do, isn't it? If we're quite
kind lies.
Yeah, we're empathetic. We do care what other people think.
Yeah. Okay. Number 6, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement?
I guess World Marathon Challenge, but generally, we all I actually think it's all the life stuff that we do, whether it's supporting family and friends and all those things that no one ever pats you on the back to do, but we all do them. So actually I think those are just as a big achievement, like looking after other people and helping them, as much as like a single thing like going to run 7 marathons.
Yeah, exactly. Probably get, as you say, less thanks for those things.
Yeah.
And number 7, what is your motto? I suppose this is almost like your mantra, but your motto.
If anything's going wrong at work, I tend to have this thing, because I work in communications, so often people can have a complete meltdown about something. I often say, like, has anyone died? Because sometimes obviously people have died in a situation and you wouldn't say that, but often if it's just a work thing and everyone's sort of getting a little bit tense about stuff, like, has anyone died? Right, if they haven't died, how do we put the current situation right, and just make everyone calm down, that not everything is a total disaster all the time. We can normally handle situations. So yeah, I'm quite known for just being quite sensible like that, really, and quite real.
Enforced reality checks. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 8, what is your greatest regret?
Greatest regret would be, I guess when I was younger, thinking that I worried about what people thought in any way. So I'm into my mid-30s now, and there's always that old adage that in your 20s you sort of care what other people think, and by your 30s you sort of stop and start realizing you just do things that make you happy and satisfied. So yeah, if I ever cared too much about what other people think, that was a complete waste of time.
I know, I agree. I think it's something we all have in common. Definitely look back, God, I should have cared a lot less, but then it's part of learning, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Number 9, which historical figure do you most identify with?
I think I would like to think I would have got on well with some of the first female MPs, and maybe the suffragettes as well, the sort of Nancy Asters of the world. I just admire them so much. There's a wonderful book by Rachel Reeves, the MP, about all of the earlier female MPs and everything they had to put up with, and the prejudice and the things they worked together on and fought for. And I really admire that. So I hope there's a little bit of that in me, in terms of getting stuff done and doing the right thing.
I'm sure there is. Thank you. It's a really good suggestion. I'll have a look at that. Number 10, how would you like to die?
I should say, like, I don't know, peacefully in my sleep, but maybe after lots of champagne.
Yeah, much prefer your answer.
Yeah. Like, I'd pass out after some delicious champagne, having ticked off everything I want to do in life.
Yeah, I'm sure that will happen. I hope it does. Thanks so much, Susannah. It's been a great interview. Really interesting. Lots to take away from it.
Hopefully, just remind everyone that, we can all be amazing, and we're all really just the same. You just have to choose what you want to be amazing at. Yeah,
great. Thank you. And people, if they want to follow you, hear more about your epic challenge and what you do next, where's the best place to go to? Is it your website or social media?
No, I do a blog on my website, wecanbeamazing.com. And there's details on my book on there, and I'm also on social media at the Iron Lady Runs. I tweet mainly about running, some work stuff as well. And there's contact details on my website if anyone ever wants to get in touch.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Susannah. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Have you got any runs planned today?
I've been out this morning, and hopefully I'll at least for a dog walk or something at the end of the workday. So you can bookend the day with some fresh air and exercise.
quite right. Thanks so much, Susannah. I'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.